Greetings from Jalandhar. At the very outset, I would like to thank Banwal sir for giving me this opportunity and allowing me to share screen time with such illustrious senior members of the armed forces. I'll be basically covering the medical legal aspects as far as off-label use of off-label drugs is concerned. Now, with such a rapid and exciting advances being made every day in our field, most of us tend to forget that the legal aspects concerning them have walked abreast to these advances, if not, in fact, walked ahead of them. As is so very evident from the ever increasing number of medical legal cases that we are seeing nowadays. This is more so where we are dealing with off-label drugs or procedures because some of them, as we've just realized, have become so very common in our day-to-day practice that they are often erroneously taken as on-label drugs and procedures. Now, here is where, if adequate precautionary steps are not undertaken, we can suffer from unnecessary legal hassles and entanglements, in spite of having the best patient interests in mind. I will be covering some of these aspects so that we all are better informed about how as to prevent from getting entangled in such most avoidable, unnecessary issues. Now, to begin with, is it legal? Well, it's definitely not illegal as long as it is in the best interest of the patient. Use is based on firm scientific rationale and there's clinical evidence to support that the off-label use of that medication or device is the best option for that particular case. Now, there are various regulatory bodies all over the world which are controlling the use of off-label drugs. For example, in US, we have the US FDA. In Europe, we have the European Medicines Agency. Japan, ladies and gentlemen, is really very liberal because off-label use is allowed even without submitting any preliminary clinical data. Now, coming to our country. The legal definition of drug was given by the Drugs and Cosmetic Act of India 1940, which was amended up to 31st of December 2016. The Drug Controller General of India is the regulatory authority for granting approval for any new drug. Like it's been mentioned earlier, unfortunately, in India, there is no clear-cut guideline on the off-label use of drugs. Now, the Drug Controller General of India is the head of the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, which regulates drugs and devices in India. It ensures that medicinal products are of acceptable quality, efficacy, and safety for which they have been approved and imported by the manufacturer. Now, as far as the pharmaceutical companies are concerned, well, there's a general opinion in our country that authorizing off-label prescription will set a bad example because of ignorance of patients and domination of the pharmaceutical companies. So, off-label marketing by pharmaceutical companies is considered a violation in law in India, an offense under the Drugs and Magic Remedies Act 1954. Now, in spite of the IMA's very positive support, in which way they had submitted a policy to the health minister stating that doctors in India should be allowed to prescribe drugs for unapproved indications when there is firm scientific evidence and medical opinion to justify such off-label treatment. However, still, any rule about the off-label prescribing is yet to be introduced in India. Now, precautions. This is most important because we need to get safe as far as unnecessary medical malpractice issues are concerned. Now, I'll be discussing avoiding malpractice risk under the informed consent, detailed documentation, regulatory issues, coverage issues, and ethical issues. Now, the use of off-label drugs combined with an adverse outcome is a potential malpractice disaster. And the key to managing this risk, and let me just state again, we can only manage it, but not eliminate it totally, is by informed consent. This is more important for off-label use of drugs, and patients, when properly informed about the initiation of treatment, must also fully understand the risks and benefits of the recommended treatment and possible alternative approaches to manage his condition. Informed consent, ladies and gentlemen, is not a form. Rather, it's a continuous process. We must discuss with patients the off-label status of the proposed therapy and the risks associated with it. Now, this is a sample of an informed consent template. As you can make out, it is far more detailed than any other drug because we have to specify exactly the purpose why we are using that drug, state the alternatives which are available to that drug, and also the known complications and side effects of that drug. The documentation is again very important, as has been mentioned earlier, and this involves a decision-making process, the informed consent discussion and off-label status, the dose and lot number of the off-label drug, and a detailed discharge and follow-up instructions. Regulatory issue. Now, this refers primarily to the difference between investigation and medical practice. Medical practice is the relationship between a physician and an individual patient, while investigation implies an inquiry about the treatment and requires a IRB approval. Please, noteworthy is that courts have held a violation of regulation as negligence per se and subjected the doctor concerned to malpractice or even having criminal implications. Now, insurance coverage. This is one of the most difficult issues. And here it is recommended that the individual medical insurance companies should establish a case-by-case coverage for an off-label drug based upon the assessment of the medical indication as whether it's reasonable and necessary. Ethical concerns. A fine balance exists between ethics and legal status. Prescription of an off-label drug should be considered ethical when the drug is cost-effective, there is no approved drug available, and there is enough safety data. I'd like to finally summarize by stating that off-label drugs gives us freedom to apply new therapeutic options based on the latest evidence. It also gives us freedom from adhering blindly to the manufacturer's instructions. Instead, now we can focus the treatment towards individual patients or for an entire group of cases. The regulatory bodies have a role to play in protecting the health of the public by not allowing off-label promotional drugs for untested and unproven benefits. It's a double-edged sword, which at one end might be helpful for some patients, but also on the other end, it may expose certain patients to unrestricted experimentation. All attempts should be made in keeping the best interest of the patient in mind. Now, how can we protect ourselves? Is by verifying that the off-label use is supported by substantial peer review, is medically necessary, and there is no viable alternative available, and it's not being done for experimental basis. Finally, the take-home message: as new and effective drugs are introduced for various ophthalmological diseases, off-label drugs will continue but to escalate as ophthalmologists attempt to optimize treatment options. With this increase in off-label drugs comes the responsibility to establish safety and efficacy in order to allow off-label drugs to become the standard of care. After all, ladies and gentlemen, our patients deserve nothing else. Thank you.